Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Hello, welcome. Hello, virtual folks. Good to have you as well. My name is Destiny, and I'm so glad that you all are here today for The Art of Scandal, which, by the way, is an incredible book. So I think everybody is familiar with the store, but if not, just FYI, books for sale upstairs. Restrooms are past the cards, and I think that is it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our conversation partner for today, who is Tracey Livesay, a former criminal defense attorney who finds crafting believable happily ever after slightly more challenging than protecting our constitutional rights. But she's never regretted following her heart instead of her law degree. She has been featured in Entertainment Weekly, The Washington Post, and CBS Mornings. Tracey lives in Virginia with her husband, who she met on the very first day of law school, which is a romance book if I've ever heard it, and their 3 children. Please join me in welcoming Tracey Livesay, the wonderful, the incredible. And I gotta say, The Art of Scandal to me is a must read. Your new summer plan, if you didn't already have a plan. And the writing, the intrigue, wow, it's just so good. It truly is. So I would like to introduce Regina Black, who is a former civil litigator, current law school administrator, and lifelong romance reader. Oh, yeah, who has always been passionate about the depiction of Black women in popular culture. She currently resides in Little Rock, Arkansas, with her husband and daughter. Please join me in welcoming the wonderful Regina Black.
Okay, there we go. Such a newbie. Welcome, Regina. Thank you for being here. I am.
I'm on.
There we go.
Right.
I am so excited to be in conversation with you and to talk about this amazing book. I have a lot of questions, and my questions are laminated, so I am serious about them. We are going to get to them, but we will leave time at the end for any questions that you guys have, and any questions you guys have in the interwebs. Hello. Okay, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so first off, congratulations on your debut.
Thank you.
Yay. Clap. Yes, thank you. Okay. So before I was published, I imagined releasing my first book would be a bit like Jessica Fletcher or Murder, She Wrote. I'd get my coif done. I'd put on a stylishly coordinated suit. I'd slide into some sensible closed-toe pumps. I'd do a round of interviews while also solving a murder. Is that how it was for you?
Absolutely. Exactly. It went
Just
down
like that.
exactly
Yes.
that way.
Well, seriously, how has this week been for you?
It's been good. So this is I think is this week 2? It's blurring together. It's been exciting. I really, really like talking about the book. I've been working on the book so long that it's such a relief to actually be able to talk to people about it, and particularly like people who have read the book, and we can talk about the characters. So that's been fun. That's been my favorite part so far.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is the fun part.
It
like you said,
is.
when you can get into the nitty gritty of the book finally.
Yeah.
Yes. But before we get into the nitty gritty of the book, I want to go back a bit and give DC Romance Landia and all of those watching virtually an opportunity to learn a little bit more about you.
Yes.
So what was your introduction to reading and writing fiction?
I've been writing since like 3rd grade. I've just been writing my whole life. And then I was a voracious reader from a really young age. I always tell a story. Growing up, I used to go to the library and I would check out 8 books at a time because that was the limit. I remember that now. It's like 8 books. And I would read all 8 books in a week and then switch with my sister and then read 8 more. And then we'd go back to the library. That's the kind of reader I always was. And I started reading romance way before I should have been reading romance.
We all have.
age-wise.
We all have.
Yes. But just, I mean, it really was the genre that just got me into loving books. So that was my entry point, and I just kind of inhaled them. And that was back when it was primarily like historicals were the big ones, and then you had the Harlequin categories. And so that's pretty much what I would read, and I would just read as many. Like I remember that was that spinning display with the books, and I remember going to the library going, I've read all these. So
Y'all need to get on it.
So like y'all need to do something, replace these, refresh. So yeah, that's kind of like how, and I always knew I wanted to write something, and it never occurred to me that it wouldn't be a romance, because that was what got me into, I read all kinds of genres, but romance is the thing that like made me fall in love with reading. So yeah.
That sounds so familiar to a lot of us. Do you remember the first romance you
No.
read? Do you remember, was it historical? Was it category? Do you remember that?
I think it was category. I think it was a silhouette.
Mm,
Everybody remembers. I'm dating
yes.
myself. Like all these nods,
Yes.
silhouettes. So yeah, it was a silhouette. I think there was a blonde woman on it that really narrows it down.
Always.
That's all I remember.
Yeah. Same. Okay. I was going to ask about romance, but I think we covered that.
Yeah.
You're an attorney.
Yeah.
So I want to welcome you into the official Romance Landia professional attorney sorority. There are a lot of us that end up here after some sort of legal detour. Do you have a theory as to why there are so many attorneys writing romance?
So I have two theories. One of my theories is why so many attorneys end up writing fiction in general. And it's because, and I work at law school, so I have insight. A lot of people go to law school because they have these kind of creative backgrounds, or they have some sort of background, like they majored in something in undergrad. Let's say it's history, it's philosophy, it's English or something.
Women's studies.
There you go. And, they love writing, they love reading, and they love writing. And somebody somewhere said, you like reading, you like writing, you should go to law school. You should be a lawyer. And so they go to law school, which is a lot of reading and writing. And I think that's one reason you see so many attorneys are secretly like working on a novel, because they've been working on it since undergrad. So yeah. So it's a catch-all degree. And so that, I think that's why you see it. And I think one of the reasons they tend to get published is because when you go to law school, you become a trained writer, right? And we have a system for, and that translates well into finishing a book. So I think we're just a little more likely to, finish that novel. With romance, I think romance is an inherently optimistic, joyful genre. It's one of those that you can pick up, and no matter what happens, no matter how sad it is, you know that you're going to land somewhere safe. They got you, right? And, when you have a high pressure job, a very uncertain job, a stressful job, you gravitate towards media that doesn't make you feel that way. And so like some open-ended lit fic that just kind of ends with life is terrible, the end, like you don't really want that. Like those are wonderful books. I've read those books. But a lot of times you want the Marvel movie where they're going to save everybody, or you want the romance book where like, okay, I'm going to cry and I'm going to feel these emotions, but she's got me, like I know that I'm going to be. And I think that's one of the reasons why when you have a stressful job, you tend to be drawn to a genre that, makes you feel a little less stressed. So
I think that's one of the best answers I've actually heard to that question. That was actually like a throwaway question, but you put your foot in that one. So thank you.
I think about a lot of things a lot.
No, that's a really good answer. Okay, so now we're going to do a quick lightning round. So these are very easy.
Okay.
These are the questions you would normally get, but we're going to speed right through.
Okay.
Pantser or plotter?
Plotter.
Yes,
Yes.
Of course.
Spreadsheets.
Yes. Drinking or snacking?
Drinking coffee. Yeah.
Are you my sister? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Quiet or music / white noise?
Quiet.
Yeah. Word or Scrivener?
Scrivener.
Oh my God, we are the same person. This is amazing. Okay. Critique group or beta readers?
Beta readers.
Mm.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a
I'm getting better.
Yeah.
I'm getting better.
Okay.
I'm looking at you. I'm getting better.
Okay. TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
For ARCs, are you team print or team digital?
Print.
And write at home or in a public place?
Home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't, y'all coffee shop writers. That's amazing to me because I'm just like, there's too much.
I'd be like nosy what other people are doing, right? Like, he cute, what he doing? You know. Okay. So I feel like we have gotten to know you and we like you. So now we're going to move on to the book, right? It's good.
Right.
Okay. We're going to be slightly spoilerish. Okay. So get ready. Easy first one. Where did the idea for the book come from?
That's actually not that easy.
Okay.
It should be, but it's
Okay.
not. I mean, and it's not because it's an old concept. I think the original version of the concept, I went back and looked at the original Word file. That was back when I was using Word. I didn't know any better. It said like 2010, I think.
Okay.
Like, so it, you know, and it was just something that I kind of messed around with and like wrote a few things, some early things, and then kind of went away from. And then I stopped writing for a long time. And when I came back to writing, I was looking for something that just kind of piqued my interest because I was like, I got to teach myself how to write again. Like I haven't written a book in a long time. And that one piqued my interest. I was like, oh, this is fun. And I kind of got it. And at the time, it was like, I knew I wanted to write a book about a woman who had a picture perfect life on the outside and it was falling apart behind closed doors. And I also knew that I wanted her to get involved in a relationship that kind of forced her to kind of rediscover herself in the process. And when I came back to it is when I came up with the idea for it to be like him to be a politician and for it to be a cheating thing. And the minute I came up with that idea, I did what I always do with romance. And I said, okay, well, who would be the absolute worst person for her to fall in love with? Like, that's how I think of my love interest. Like, who's the messiest love interest I can think of? Oh, someone who is younger than her. And then I proceeded to make it even more messy. So yeah, so that's kind of how that idea kind of sprang to life. And you know, I took inspiration from a few real life people, but yeah. So
like a few like real life politicians.
Yeah, like there's, you know,
I'm just saying. I mean,
I mean, there's like famous scandals out
it's
there.
public knowledge.
It is public knowledge. And I mean, it's really like those public scandals where a politician gets caught cheating or something like that. And then the woman is like standing by his side and everybody's says, well, why would she stay? You know, Anthony Weiner was like a big one because his wife.
Is it pronounced Weiner, not Weiner?
I can't. I say
I'm
Weiner.
asking.
I don't remember. I just say Weiner because,
okay,
but it may be Weiner.
Okay.
Well, Wiener Weiner was the inspiration.
Yes.
And you know, partially because his wife is just so impressive. She's gorgeous. She's like this impressive person, and she kind of stood by her man. And like a lot of people are like, why would you stay?
Right.
And so I kind of answered that question in both like a serious and fun way. Like the fun way was like, why would you stay? Because she got paid. So that was kind of the fun. I was like, but like the serious way is like she stayed because that's her husband, you know, and this is her life. And it's very easy for people to be on the outside and be like, well, you should just up and leave. And it's like, do you know how much she's invested in this life? She has a small child with this man. Yeah. And so when he comes to you and it's like, no, this is how I'm going to fix it, you want to believe it. Yeah. So, yeah. So anyway.
As I understand it, this book was a part of Pitch Wars.
It was.
And for those who don't know what that is, Pitch Wars is a mentoring program where unpublished writers submit their full manuscript, and then published agent authors, editors, and industry interns choose one writer, read their entire manuscript, and offer suggestions on how to make the manuscript shine for an agent showcase. So it's the real deal, but it's also not the typical way that people break into the business. So how did you find out about the program? What made you decide to try it? And how was that experience for you?
So I wrote this book to teach myself how to write, and I revised it like once on my own. And then I said, I have to get this in front of some other people because, I haven't written for years. This could be absolute trash. Like, I have no idea. And so I started researching writers groups and things online. And this is during a pandemic. So everything was like really virtual. So there was a lot of information kind of flying around. And I did, NaNoWriMo, NaNoWriMo has Camp NaNoWriMo. And they do these like mentorship pods or what. So I did that, and I got a little bit of feedback on the beginning, and it was super positive. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this is good. And so I started looking for more. And then I came across Pitch Wars, and I started reading up on Pitch Wars, and I saw how competitive it was. And like that, the fact that the books that had come out of that, like, the Kiss Quotient came out of that, and like just these massive books. And people were like, yeah, it's like thousands of people apply to Pitch Wars. And I was like, I'm not getting into that. But I read that you get feedback. If, an author requests your book, you get feedback. That's why I entered Pitch Wars, because I was like, I want a published author to possibly request my full manuscript. And then they did. And I was like, I won Pitch Wars. Like, somebody requested, and it was just one, like, you apply to 4 different mentors, just one of them requested it. And most people get like 2, 3 requests. I got one. And it didn't surprise me because, I knew what the romance market was at the time, and it was rom-coms, and it's still largely rom-coms. And this is not a rom-com. So I was like, that didn't surprise me at all. I was like, yeah. So I was pumped to get one request, and it was from Denise Williams and Cherish Reed. And they announced that I was their mentee. And I was like, what? Like, I think there were like over 4,000 people applied that year. And so I worked with them, and we did the showcase, and like, it really was this kind of journey, particularly for me. I think it was a little different for me because I think everybody else really went into Pitch Wars like legitimately pursuing it as, I want to get chosen, I want to get agent, and I want to get published. And I kind of went into it just like, I want someone to read my book and tell me whether it's bad. And so like everything that happened after, I was just constantly like taken aback. So it's been a little bit of a roller coaster for me. So yeah.
But a good one.
A good one.
You got off. It was like, that's great. That's a great ride.
Like,
I'll
do
it again. Yeah. It's good. So at the end of the book, I have the book. I have tabs. Find it. Okay, so at the end of the book, there is an article written about Rachel, who's your heroine, and it's titled "How Rachel Thomas Mastered the Art of Scandal." And that was funny to me because my husband loves, like, when movies like say the title of the movie in the movie TV show, he gets very tickled. So what I wanted to ask you was, when did you come up with the title?
I actually did not.
What?
So I struggled with the title of this book. At first, the first title was The Mayor's Wife, and I hated that title. I was like, this sounds like a Lifetime movie. Like, it was a placeholder. And then I changed it. I changed it to A Touch of Scandal. And I wasn't crazy about it. I was like, this is fine. This will work. And Denise Williams named this book. She said, you should call it The Art of Scandal. And I was like, Denise, you're so good. Love her. So yeah, Denise Williams, she named my book. She's good.
Yes. That was great, Denise. Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, we have nothing against Lifetime movies. And should y'all want to make this a Lifetime movie, you know where to go. You know where to go.
For last time, people gonna come after me.
For good. For good. They want this. They like the title. You know. Okay. So now we're going to get into the book. You had me at the first sentence, which I am going to read for the peoples because it's amazing. Chapter 1. When your husband of 13 years sends a close-up. Oh, is the child still here?
She'll be fine.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I will start over. Okay. When your husband of 13 years sends a close-up of his erect penis, you should not, under any circumstances, ask him why he sent it. That's the first sentence, y'all.
True.
That is the first sentence. I literally laughed out loud. So did you know you were going to start there, or did that come like after revisions? Because it's chef's kiss.
It came after revisions. Like there was, I'm an overwriter. So there was a lot of fluff beforehand. And I have the absolute best critique partner. My alpha reader is my twin sister, like my identical twin sister. She's also a writer, and she is really the one person like I can give something to, and she'll go, I see what you're trying to do and you didn't do it. She is brutal. But she very much was like, you're winding up too much, like you're just she's like, just get to it. And I was like, okay. And so I got to it. And that's how that kind of became. Yeah.
It's spectacular.
Yeah.
It is. Okay. I have another one. I have another tab. Oh, so excited. Okay. Your heroine, Rachel, had been making said husband's birthday cake when she received the text. And I thought that setup told us a lot about who she was as a character. She's a homemaker who's supportive, but she also cares about appearances because she wanted that cake to be perfect.
Yep.
And so I thought I understood Rachel and knew where we were going. And then Rachel responded to his text. So great. Okay, so she gets the text and she responds, I don't think you meant to send this to me. She put her phone down and dipped her finger into a bowl of leftover icing, careful to avoid the red velvet crumbs in the center. The kitchen door swung open and banged against the opposite wall. Matt rushed in, his panicked eyes darting from her face to her abandoned phone. Jesus, he shoved both hands in his hair. God, I'm so sorry. Rachel held his gaze and slowly pushed the cake over the counter's edge. It fell face down into a blood red pile at his feet. So great. Oh my God. Okay. So this is page 4. Page 4. So that's when I knew I needed to buckle up because there were going to be twists and turns, and Rachel wasn't going to be who we thought she was going to be. Can you walk us through your process of creating Rachel's journey? Did she show up fully formed or?
No.
Okay.
I mean, so when I first wrote Rachel, I kind of just approached it. And I do think I thought about her a little more like, oh, this man is victimizing her. And, like she's this put upon wife, and kind of like how you would expect. But when I sat down to create her as a character, you want to write characters that you like, or that you root for. And so I started kind of thinking about how she would react to something like this. And the more that I kind of thought about who she was as a person, so like the art, kind of the way we're introduced to her, she's very preoccupied with appearances and things like that. It's very much work. And that is a theme in the book, the fact that we have this person who has had this kind of domestic life with this man, and whether that work, what she did is recognize and legitimize his work, which is a topic that, you see a lot. And that's really kind of where I started with her, that those things with the cake and the party that she was putting into her marriage, that was her job. And she would never say that, but that's absolutely how she approached it. And, later in the book, you see that they absolutely were like, we're partners, you're going to the White House eventually. We've got this plan. Everything was geared towards that. And so that was their journey together, right? And so when he did that, when she got that picture, she was like, I quit. Oh no, we're not doing this anymore. So it was never like her really internalizing the fact that icing this cake was super duper important. Like, her identity wasn't wrapped up in the cake. It was more wrapped up in the perception of, like she says, like, it doesn't matter. He's like, nobody's going to eat it. She's like, it doesn't matter. What matters is I made it, and they know I made it, and I take it out because it's part of our image, right? And the minute she gets that text, she's just like, oh yeah, no, this is over. Okay, so I quit. You obviously quit. And that's why she reacts the way she does, because she's like, oh no, I'm not the one. Like, you're not going to do this to me. So yeah.
I love the idea of her thinking about it as I quit, because then, she didn't flip a table, she flipped a cake, but it's like the same thing. Like, yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Nathan Vasquez, right, is an interesting character and not one often seen in romance. We first meet him hiding from an unwanted double date situation in the bathroom of a drive-in movie. You mentioned he's a big brown guy with ink up to his neck, that he has a history of getting into trouble as a kid, that he owns a laundromat he purchased with money left to him by his grandmother. None of this is really spoilers, guys. Who'd urged him to get an education because it had changed her life. We expected Nathan to be a certain type of person. And I think you played into our expectations of who we think he was with certain language choices before you revealed who he actually was and how he connected to Rachel's world. Was I right?
Yes.
Okay. And
yes.
yes. Okay. Did you do that on purpose?
Absolutely did.
Also, and I think you mentioned a little bit of this earlier, but why did you choose Nathan to be Rachel's hero? And how did the 12-year age gap play into them being the perfect fit for each other?
So Nathan took me a while to really kind of wrap my head around who Nathan was, because, my initial very first version of Nathan, he was very he was broody, and he was very like more alpha and kind of like, that guy. And it really hit me that, like, that's not really what she needs. She's going through this thing. She's got the edges, right? Like, she can handle herself. She needed a safe place to land. And so I reconceived Nathan as a safe place to land. Like, that is a theme. She talks about Matt was supposed to be my safe place. Nathan becomes her safe place. So I did that. And then, while developing Nathan, like with the age, making him younger, they represent each other's arcs. So Rachel is reclaiming her youthful passion, like something that she went away from, and he embodies that, right? Like, he personifies that. He's this artist, he's younger, he's in a little bit of the stage of life that she was in when she was herself. And so it creates this immediate draw for her, and vice versa. Nathan's arc is a coming of age arc. And so he's coming of age in a way, it's not so much kind of like what you'd see in YA. It's more like that mid-20s stage of life where you're really transitioning into that adulthood, where you're starting to realize that you have a little more agency on the outcome, like how your life unfolds and things. And then you're actually starting to see your parents as people instead of, just parents. So he's going through that transition. And when we meet him, he's just like, what is up with me? And it's kind of, the answer is like, growing up, dude. Like, and so Rachel's like this older woman who helps him kind of embrace that journey, right? And he, she shares a lot about her background and her mistakes, and he sees these things and how they turned out for her, and it actually helps him get to a place where he can heal a lot of the hurt and harm and things that have happened in his past.
And so they are each other's arc, which is why they're perfect for each other. But the thing you talked about, having your hero be the worst possible person is because of who he is.
Yeah.
Right. Who is he?
Yeah.
Just for the peoples who don't know.
Like, you want me to?
Is that
like
spoiler?
the real?
Do you want? No, you know what? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, my bad. I said spoilerish. Right.
I mean, so he is younger, which is scandalous, right? Like, the age gap is scandalous. And then there's also another additional scandalous
stuff.
aspect to it. And so that's that part of like, that's when I say I pick a love interest as the worst person, it's kind of like, who is this person, or what is this person, or what kind of history do you have with this person? So
okay, we'll keep that.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. That was good. Okay, so Nathan is an artist, and he started out drawing fan art of a popular fantasy book series. I assumed it was fictional, because I hadn't heard of it.
No, I completely made that up.
Okay,
yeah.
Is it based on anything though? Because it's pretty involved. I mean, it's involved.
No, I just made it up. Yeah, I made it up. And I'm never writing a fantasy book. Like, I'm never writing a high fantasy.
We talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
And Regina was saying that she didn't think she can do it.
I just can't name things. Like,
that was the book in the series in the book. It's very involved. Like, I feel like it could be real. So you can do it.
Well, what you see is what is there. Hey, that's all I know.
Okay. Fair. Okay. I loved Nathan's brother, Joe.
Yeah.
You did that bait and switch thing again, where I thought he was going to be one type of person, but you made me fall for him as a character.
I'm curious. What was your assumption? I'm just curious.
I thought he was going to be the older brother that we don't like. I mean, who is his personality, but he's more likable and more open. And then you gave him certain issues that made us root for him and made him more approachable and appealable. So yes. It's good writing, but maybe we don't see it that often. So we're surprised when we're like, oh, he's three-dimensional. Interesting. Anyway, but I was also, I hope this isn't a spoiler, but I was interested and surprised to learn he had history with a certain character.
Yeah.
Is that spoiler?
No,
okay.
I don't think so.
So with this other character, Mia, who is Rachel's cousin.
Yes.
So is their story coming?
That it depends on how this story is.
I know. Yeah.
But you set that up though. Right? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And if in that story, would there be more exploration of Nathan and Rachel's story?
Yeah. Yes.
And so just curious, where would Rachel and Nathan be like in 5 years?
So
just
oh man. Okay. There's a reason I don't write epilogues. And it's I don't write epilogues because I like tension, I like conflict, and like once the conflict kind of drops out of the story, I tend to lose interest. So their ending, I feel like I ended their story. They are very happy together. They are very much in love, and they are choosing each other. But it absolutely, there's just still problems. There's obvious problems, like, right? So, there's their family members. She has this 21-year-old daughter who is like smiling at her mom's 26-year-old man, but
not,
she's not super cool with that, and she also, she's got this problem. One of the things I wrote, Matt is, we hate Matt in the book, the husband, but he's a good dad. He is a good stepfather. And, even Rachel was in, she's like, oh, he's actually still a good stepfather. And that her daughter is like torn because she wants her mom to be happy, but she also loves this, and he did this work. So there's a lot of like dangling strings of story that they would still have to deal with.
Another one that I was thinking about, her daughter's father.
Yeah.
Because she's been in the media.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he see the media, right?
Tracey. This book was conceived as like a soapy book. It was inspired by soap operas, and I was not playing around.
No, you were not.
Like,
no, you were not.
We know how those go.
Yes,
and it's like
do.
you just dangling string.
You just need to cast them.
And so
That's
yeah.
Right. Okay. It's good, y'all. It's good. Okay. And grab one more tab here. This is my last question before I open it up. So y'all get ready, be thinking. If there's anything I didn't ask, you guys are ready. Okay. So towards the end of the book, Rachel says in that interview that I referenced earlier, as soon as you hang art on the wall, it isn't yours anymore. You can't shape the emotions or assumptions it elicits. Of course, as a writer, I thought about that and how it relates to our work. In fact, there are some authors who probably should have that cross-stitched on a pillow or something in their office. But with that said, we do want readers to get something from our work. So what do you want people to get from the story that you wrote?
I want people, first of all, I want them to have a good time. Like, this is absolutely a book that I'm like, I want you to pick it up. I want you to binge it. I want you to binge it like you binged the last season of Bridgerton or whatever. Like, absolutely. That's what I would like. But I also kind of want people to take away from this, like, it really is a book about rediscovering your passion. It's like I rediscovered my passion for writing through writing this book. And it really is about, like, it's never too late to do that. So it's kind of like, if there's this thing that you used to do that used to bring you joy, but you feel like you outgrew it, like, that's literally a lot in the book. Like, it's like we get older and we get responsibilities and we act like being passionate about something is like, that's for kids, that's for younger people. It's not, because it really is part of who we are, what makes us who we are. And so I just hope that people read this book. And if there's something that either, you've put aside, or maybe something that you don't tell people that you love or something, it kind of just inspires you to revisit that, or be like, I'm not going to be ashamed that I love Dungeons and Dragons. I'm gonna wear this shirt, like, it's just, I just hope that it makes you think about that differently.
That's wonderful. I love that. Okay. That's all I have. I'm going to open it up to questions. Does anyone have any questions, either in person or virtually? Oh, yes.
Okay.
This lady in the front row.
Very happy to have you here. Queen Bee was just recently here, Beyonce. And and she has a famous song that reminds me so much of Rachel, and it's Ring the Alarm. And it seems to be like she gonna be rocking, chinchilla coats if I let you go. Like, there's this sense of like, I have invested all of this, I have done all this work, and I'm not gonna go gently, into this kind of good night. And I'm just wondering about like the role of music, and like how music formed your writing process, or if it did, and if there were soundtracks.
Hold on. No, you finish. Yeah, before
if there's
you.
just like a soundtracks, plural to this.
Right. So before you answer, I have to repeat the question. Okay. So like Beyonce was here, and she is amazing, and she has this song Ring the Alarm, and there's like chinchilla coats, and Rachel could be wearing chinchilla coats, and so there's like a vibe, and music plays into that. So Regina like talk about music and your vibe and your books.
So perfect. Yes, the answer is yes. Like music plays a huge role in my writing process. Like a lot of scenes or things that happens in scenes, and sometimes things that people say will come to me because I'm listening to something on repeat. And for this particular book, I listened to a lot of Jasmine Sullivan. So like my favorite thing to listen to, like at top volume, was Busted Windows. Busted Windows. Yeah. I was like, just turn it up and read this book. And that is Rachel in a nutshell. But she has so many songs that remind me of Rachel. And also when I was working on this, the Chicks came out with their last one, like Gaslighter. And I feel like that whole album kind of is like Rachel's theme. Like there's a lot of songs where they're like Gaslighter in particular. And then just pretty much I did listen to kind of a lot of angry women, like women who were like, you are not going to do this to me. It's like a lot of Mary J. Blige in there. So yes, that absolutely kind of influenced the energy that I gave her. And for Nathan and Rachel, it was very much like kind of, I listened to a lot of Sabrina Claudio, like that breathy kind of light, sexy voice with, you bring in the the beats and the vibe, like just the whole vibe of that was their vibe to me. So I absolutely do that when I'm writing. It really influences. And yes, Beyonce, when she came out with Renaissance, absolutely, I started playing that and I was like, yeah, this is giving me this book.
So you're saying there's a playlist?
Yes, there is. And it's so long. I need to edit it and like put it out there. There's like 40 songs on it. Like I was like, this is a little bit much.
No,
but
that's a good playlist. Yeah.
Don't encourage me.
We will. We will encourage you. Clearly, I am not the person to restrain you. I'm the one that says 45 songs. Yeah. Just do it. Yeah. Okay. You had a question?
Me too.
Okay. So soap
what
operas.
era of One Life? Like when did you watch One Life? There we go. I knew you were gonna say. I was like, yes.
Seriously.
Yeah. So I used to write One Life to Live fan fiction for Evangeline. That's why I was like, what era? I see you. So all of them I've pretty much at some point watched just about every daytime soap that was out there. Like I grew up with Y&R, like we all did.
That's grandma's watch.
Grandma, yes. Victor Newman.
Don't start. 80 years old, still punching the young ones.
There you go. So I always feel like my introduction to romance was a combination of romance books and then watching those because they had those super couples, right? Yep. And if you read like those are the kind of romances I like. I like those super couple kind of like high conflict, this is impossible, and you're watching it and you've been watching it for a while and you're like, are they really gonna put them together? But what about this? And oh my God, how is that ever gonna work out? That's the feeling I like to get with a romance. So like when you read Art of Scandal, I hope while you're reading it, you're having that feeling like, how in the world are they gonna end up together? Because there's so many obstacles, and that's where that comes from. So I watch like every soap opera, nighttime soap operas, Shonda Rhimes shows, like all that stuff. I love it.
And now that you say that, I can especially see that in the family. So the Vasquezes and
the Abbotts,
and
the Williams or Thomases, Williamses. That was intentional.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. Anyone else have questions? Yes.
So I'm assuming because I haven't had a chance to read it. They're visual artists in this book, right?
Yes.
I have a background in visual art.
Oh.
So my question is, why did you pick visual art?
Why did you pick visual arts?
Yeah, it's fine. That's a good question. I've asked myself that a few times because I'm not a visual artist. Like, so when I was writing, I was like, why did I do this? So I love art. And most of the time, if I come up with a book idea, the topic is usually just something I'm super interested in. I'm super passionate in. Like, I read like an entire history of modern art when I was working on this book. Like, I love it. Like, I love that stuff. I love the research. And one of the things I think it was really good for this is because the nature of art, particularly for people of color, and how we've used that medium to express ourselves in ways that a lot of times it wasn't safe for us to express ourselves. So you can, music, writing, visual art. It's always like a mode of expression where we can put kind of that real kind of passion in. And I had this idea that art would be their love language, like that you have these two people who are passionate about art, and at some point in their lives it was the source of pain or some sort of rejection or something that went wrong, and they kind of buried it, and there's shame associated with how much they loved it. And then they meet each other, and it's like what they do for each other is say, hey, this thing that you're ashamed of that you've been hiding is actually beautiful. It's not something you should be ashamed of. And that's what they do for each other in the book. So yeah, that's why I picked it. You're welcome.
We have time for one more question, either in person or virtually. Okay. Could we do two quick questions? Two quick questions. Okay. Two quick questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how to turn mine into a question just because I was so wowed and in awe of the dialogue in
yeah.
the story. Then I guess my question is, did you just do that? To like come back and like do it intentionally? I'm my background is like TV writing. So anytime you have people like the banter and exchange and that, but yeah. Okay. All right.
Did you write the dialogue? Yes.
Close enough. Dialogue is just easy for me. Like that is one thing. Like dialogue, for some reason, dialogue just comes naturally to me. I think it's a combination of, like, there's a lot of me in the conversations and the things they say, but also I very intentionally try to subvert expectations in dialogue. Like, what would you expect them to say? Like, I very intentionally go like, write something else. And I just try and keep it interesting. Like, I need to be interested in the scene. So there have been times where I'm working and I'm writing like a conversation, and I'm like, man, and I kind of lose interest, and I just go back and start over. But it's constantly kind of that anticipating what you would expect someone to say in response to something, and then not doing that. Another part of it is, a lot of authors will face cast their characters. They will go out and find images for their character. I voice cast. So I like to say like, sometimes it's an actor, but a lot of times it's like a character, and it'll be super highly specific, like 1990s Jude era Jude Law in Alfie. Like, it's that kind of voice casting. And I'll use it kind of as inspiration, and I kind of hear them talking. And so that helps me too. So, yeah.
And our last question.
I love all my, she knows the answer to this question.
Does she like her characters?
I like all my characters, like even the characters that people hate. I enjoy writing them. And I always say, when I write someone who's technically kind of a villain, it's like always write this person as like the hero of their story. Like they look in the mirror and they go, I am the good guy. And that makes them just more interesting to me. And so like when you're, talking about expectations, like there are characters that you meet and you expect them to be a certain way, and you expect that one scene you meet them in to be like the definitive thing about that person. And I'm always like, no, people are complicated. People are gray. Like, and so like even Matt, everybody doesn't like her husband. And I'm like, I love writing Matt. I don't necessarily want to hang out with Matt, but he's fun for me to write because I understand Matt. Like I know who raised him. I know like why he is the way he is. And I really think it made me think, okay, what happens to a person when they have these really earnest ideals? Like he is legitimately a progressive man who cares about these things, but then you commodify those things. You commodify your values, and it becomes like, I have to have you believe I care about Black people or you will not vote for me and I will not get my job. Like, what does that do to a person? And it gets him to a point where he can literally look in the mirror and do these things to his wife, but still say, no, I'm a good person. This deal is totally fine because it's really important I get in this position because I'm this progressive and people are depending on me and I'm super important. I've been told I'm important from when I was born. That's Matt Abbott in a nutshell. And like, to me, he just doesn't have the tools to be more than he is, which is why I don't hate Matt. But yeah,
That's very generous.
yeah.
Thank you. Very generous. Okay. I think that's it. I want to thank all of you for coming and being in conversation with us with the amazing Regina Black. This was incredible. And
Thank y'all.
the book is The Art of Scandal. It's under all of my pages, but you guys need to read it. So thank you so much.
Thank you both. Wonderful questions. I love that they were laminated. That just like I took it to the next level. So of course Regina is gonna sign. I'll bring out the table and we have books for sale upstairs still. And again, thank you all for being here tonight. It was a great time. Thank you. And thank you. Heart XL.